So let's start with the new knee. Congrats. You
Thank
finally
you.
got it. It sounds like it's doing so well that it even surprises you a little bit how
Yeah,
well it's doing.
it definitely surprises me how well it's doing. I mean, when you have had pain for such a long period of time, I think my expectations were low. I was hoping it would be better, than it was, and it just has so far exceeded my expectations. I don't think about it. I don't feel it. It's like it's brand new, which is incredible to me.
So you've been thinking about getting a knee replacement for a while, right? Or partial replacement.
For a few years, yeah. And I just did a lot of research. That's what took me so long to decide, is that there's so many different types of replacements, partials, fulls. Do you keep your ACL? Do you take your ACL away? There's a lot of options. There's also a lot of doctors. There's also
Lots of opinions.
robotics involved. Was a lot to decide on, but I think I made the right choice.
So what made you pull the trigger in the end?
I just couldn't do the things I love to do anymore.
It was that bad?
Yeah, it was really bad. And I kept getting surgeries to try to, make life okay. And it just, after 6 months, it was back to where it was before. It wasn't worth it to continue to try to do these surgeries. So it's like you get to the end of your rope and you gotta make a decision. So I did.
Sounds like, though, you didn't do it to get back into skiing. You just did
No.
it to, like, live your life.
Yeah.
Right?
I definitely did it to just live my life. I mean, my goal was to be able to play tennis and wake surf and, do all the fun things that I wanted to do. Before it was hard to just, honestly, walking was the hardest. And going on a walk with my friend's 7-year-old, Aunt Lindsay could only go, 10 minutes. And then I had to turn around and the 7-year-old wanted to keep going. And I had to explain that, Aunt Lindsay's in a lot of pain. I can't keep going. So, it was time. It was time.
How long had it been since you were able to, like, straighten your right leg all the way?
A long time. I had developed pretty bad bone spurs, and so it was always blocking my range of motion. I couldn't straighten it all the way. I couldn't flex it all the way, and so I just stuck in this, like half state that ended up causing hip pain, back pain, neck pain. It was just, eventually it just goes up the chain. So it wasn't just my knee, unfortunately. It was kind of everything.
So what was the recovery like? I mean, was it better than your other recoveries?
Yeah, it was.
Was
The
it?
recovery was a lot easier than an ACL, for example. I mean, I've had so many surgeries that I can compare against, but yeah, it was, because there was no ligament repair or meniscal repair, it's basically just your bone healing from the impact of hammering in a titanium piece and cutting off the top. But I mean, I had a plate and 18 screws in my arm, and it's kind of a similar situation where there's nothing you can do. It's not going to break. The titanium's there. It's not going anywhere. So it was just a matter of, getting the swelling down post-surgery and getting the range of motion back. And once I did that, I was up and walking in like 5 days.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow. How soon afterwards did you wonder how far you could push it?
It was pretty quickly after, because, it actually turned so quickly that I was so surprised at, all the things that I could do almost immediately after surgery that I couldn't do before, that hurt me before, bothered me before. I had no swelling, I had no pain, and it just was such a drastic difference that I thought, well, if I can do all of these things that used to hurt me before, where can I take this? Can I ski? What does that feel like? Then my mind starts to wander, and
And here we are.
And here we are.
What was that first run like that you took?
I was smiling, through the back of my helmet. I had so much fun, and I really honestly couldn't believe it. I always kept waiting for the pin to drop, that something was going to hurt it and reality would kick in and I'd go back to, being less than I was before, but it never did. And when I took that first run, I was just so happy because I could do the thing that I love the most in the world without pain. It didn't hurt. I couldn't feel it. It was like brand new, and it blew my mind.
It sounds like it's almost so new that it felt completely different. Like you're like, wait a minute.
Now it's totally different. Everyone says, oh, well, you're older, so it must be harder. I'm like, actually, it's a lot easier. I had to do so much to just, get out of bed every morning, let alone when I was competing. It was so much work, and now I don't have to do all those things. I'm like a normal person.
You're brand new now.
I'm brand new.
Sort of.
I'm titanium.
So how long had it been since you've been on ski? Were you skiing recreationally?
Yeah, of course. I love skiing, and that's always what's driven me, is that I love being on the mountain. It was what my family always did together. It's what I did with my grandparents. My grandparents, had a big influence in my life, and I loved being with my family on the mountain. So I definitely skied quite a bit when I was retired.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't it's not the same. You can't compare free skiing, with your dad to I'm going to go race downhill. It's a little different.
So when did the idea of competing again start to percolate?
I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I decided that I would go to New Zealand and try and see how it felt.
Just kind of off the grid, right?
Yeah,
Nobody
totally
around.
off the grid. No one knew. It was just my coaches, 2 coaches, and in the middle of nowhere, New Zealand. And, I wanted to see how it felt. I didn't want to put any expectations or pressure on myself to do anything, because I didn't need to do anything. I just wanted to see if it would work. And so we made these steps. I free skied. I started training in gates. I just kind of kept checking all these boxes on a list of things to do, and it felt great on every single step. So I wouldn't say I knew that I would be racing until October, when I got to Europe and I did a second camp. Again, like, managing my own expectations has probably been the hardest thing for me in this whole journey. But I just didn't want to jump too far ahead of myself. And I think that's what allowed me to slowly build into where I am now and be able to be racing.
So what are your expectations now?
That's a great question. I think my first, few races were so good that I adjusted my expectations, and I expected a lot from myself. I think I know what I'm capable of, and I know that ski racing hasn't changed that much in the last 6 years. I know what it takes to win. I'm not ready to win yet. I still need to get stronger. I still need to fix my equipment. That's been one of the biggest challenges, is that I didn't have a long preparation period like most racers have, and I hadn't raced in 6 years. So I have to figure out my equipment. The boots totally changed since I left racing. The skis are pretty much the same, but it's like, going from driving a regular car to jumping into Formula One. You can't just jump right in and expect that the car perfectly. You have to make adjustments. So I have to make those adjustments, and once I do, I'm really optimistic about what I can achieve. Of course, that's going to take a little bit of time, but I have a year, so I think that's enough time.
Obviously there's been so many elite athletes like yourself who've competed into their 40s. The difference with you is they didn't take, 5.5 years off in between, right? So what you're doing really is, in that sense anyway, unprecedented. And I don't think any of those elite athletes also had a knee replacement either, right?
Yeah, there's not many women that have done that either. It's mostly men. Most of them didn't take a break from their careers. They just kept playing, later in life. So it is a bit different. And I don't know of any active professional athlete that's had a knee replacement. But I always like to push the envelope, I guess. So I'll be the guinea pig. I'll try it out.
You said that going into these world championships, you have a different perspective, you have some different goals. What's different this time around, you think?
Everything's different, really. I have been away from the sport for 6 years, and I think that just gave me a different perspective, because I never expected to come back.
Yeah.
I knew always that my career was over, and I mourned the loss of my, of something that I loved so much. And I built an amazing life. I got my foundation and business and family, and everything's, great, but no one else has that perspective. No one else has stepped away from the sport and been able to look at life from a bigger picture.
Well, you were outside looking in.
Yeah, exactly. And I see, how I've always known how lucky I was to be able to do what I loved, because I've been injured so many times.
Yeah.
When things are taken away from you that you love, you realize, oh wow, I really do love that so much. And the passion for ski racing has never gone away. I just have found different things to challenge myself. So I just have a different perspective, and I don't need to do this. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I'm not doing it for any other reason other than I love ski racing, and Cortina is one of my favorite places in the world. So would I come back if it wasn't Cortina? I don't know if I would. That's kind of been a, something that when I retired, I was really sad about, because Cortina is like a home race for me. It would be really special if I could compete there. So it's definitely been a carrot that's been dangling.
Sort of all is kind of working out, though, seems like, so far.
Yeah, so far. I mean, I've always expected something to happen, something to set me back, or, something to go wrong. But so far, everything has really gone well. I've taken some tumbles, and, I'm in one piece. I still have work to do. I need to get stronger. I really didn't have much time because I didn't know if I was going to race. So I didn't even have really a trainer. I didn't really have a program. I didn't have a physical therapist. All these things that, I kind of need to have, I didn't have in place. So I just need time.
And that's why you were so surprised by it, because
Yeah.
if you had thought this was going to be the case, obviously.
Well, I mean, I had plans. I mean, I have things that, I had to cancel a lot of things for my work, for business, because I had this whole year scheduled out, and now, I can't do any of those things. And I think it's a pretty easy call to say, hey, I'm racing World Cup now. I can't go to the board meeting anymore. Everyone's pretty understanding about it, but still, I definitely made plans with no expectation of being in the starting gate this year.
You always said that you really skied without think about consequences too much. Do you still have that? Do you
Yeah.
still have that sense of no fear?
No, I don't. I think that's one thing that I actually really love about skiing, is that there is a risk, and you have to be focused, and you have to be ready, and you have to take those risks, and you can't be afraid. And it's so similar to just life in general. You have to keep moving. You have to push yourself, and you have to be out of your comfort zone. You'll never make progress unless you push yourself. And sometimes I push myself past the limit, and that's caused problems for me. It's caused me to crash a few times. But I think those types of risks are worth taking. I wouldn't have done as well as I have in my career had I not taken those risks. So I could be afraid, but then I would never get anywhere in life.
And the risks are still worth it, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's the same risk that I'm taking now as it was when I was racing before.
Yeah.
It's not really any different. I'm a little bit older, but there's plenty of men who've done it at my age, so I just see no reason why I can as well.
And you never had, so I don't know whether you call it PTSD or what you call it, but after your crashes, you would just get up and ski again, pretty much, however, depending on whatever the recuperation period was.
No.
The crash never stuck in your head.
No, because I mean, you crash so many times. You just fall and you get back up, and the longer you take to get back up, the harder it becomes. If you just got to do it. The next day is a new day. Your past does not dictate your future. So I learn from my mistakes. I watch my videos. I always watch my crashes.
Yeah.
I learn, and then I erase, and I move forward. And that's just how I approach my life. And I've never thought about crashing when I'm in the starting gate, because when you're racing downhill, if you're thinking about crashing, then you probably shouldn't be there, because downhill is a very dangerous sport.
Yeah. You've talked about it being like a mental game versus a physical game. Does it feel like it's more mental now?
No, for me, I think right now it's very physical. You know, I just need to be stronger. I just haven't had the time to be as strong as I can be, or I should be mentally. And that's one thing that I'm really happy about, is where I am mentally. When I'm in the starting gate, I'm at least in the World Championships. It feels like second nature to me, and I executed the game plan that I wanted to. It may not have been the result that I wanted, but at the same time, what it's going to take for me to do well at the Olympics is going to come down a lot to how I can manage the pressure and expectation that others put on me, not that I put on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been someone that's put a lot of expectation on myself,
Yeah.
a lot more than anyone else ever has. But I'm in a bit of a different situation now. I don't expect anything of myself. I'm enjoying every second that I'm racing and, on the road and on the mountain. But I know already from this season, from the World Championships and everything, that people expect a lot and they hope a lot. And I think the hope that I can do something special is a different type of pressure that I didn't really anticipate, and something that I'm going to have to manage.
What do you think, as you come in with all this experience, so much more than any of your teammates have, how is that an edge? Or is it an edge, I guess? Just the wisdom of your years of skiing.
I think my knowledge is one of the most important skills that I have that I can use to my advantage. It's kind of like Tom Brady being a quarterback, and he knows all the plays, and he doesn't have to think about it. It's just second nature to him. Racing in the Olympics is second nature to me. It'll be my 5th Olympics. So, I know how it goes. I'm not going to be surprised by anything. I know what it takes to win. I've done it before, and not many people are in that position. And that experience is huge. I will try to use that to the best of my ability to give me an edge, because I will be at a disadvantage. I am 40, and at that time next year I will be 41.
Yeah.
I'm racing against kids that are 22, so a little different. But I know that my skiing acumen and my knowledge of the course will help overcome whatever disadvantage I may have because of my age.
Is there some good-natured ribbing?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like what?
There's one girl that calls me grandma, which I don't exactly appreciate, but there's definitely, some jokes around the team that, I raced in my first Olympics before one of the girls was born, things like that. There's a lot of time frame references that I wish we didn't have to go through. Like they don't know what the movie Dumb and Dumber, there's some cultural references that that my teammates don't always get.
You always used to say you'd be able to really look at a course and kind of memorize the line. Can you still do that?
Oh yeah,
is it still
absolutely.
is it a photographic memory kind of?
Yeah, I have a very, very much a photographic memory. I can't remember the trails on mountains, but
Yeah.
I know exactly where they are and what it looks like, and I can
Wow.
picture it very vividly. But yeah, and it's like counting sheep. I visualize Cortina in my head when I go to sleep.
Other than getting stronger, what do you think has to happen for you to get to Cortina?
I have to figure out my equipment,
Yeah.
I have to dial it in. And right now, something's missing. I can't quite figure out what it is. My skis are really fast. My equipment is really good, but it's not set up for me. And I have to fine tune that. And I think ski racing is in that way pretty complex. If you're really trying to optimize, it's just like Formula One car.
Yeah.
To really optimize it, it takes time, and it takes precision, and it takes feel and different conditions. What works in the rain doesn't work, in normal dry pavement, things like that. So I need time. I need testing time, and I will have that this spring and this summer. We'll travel to New Zealand and Chile and to Europe, and I'll try to get that dialed in as best I can, but I know my skiing is there. I think I'm actually skiing better now than I was last few years of my career.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Technically.
So when you left in 2019 after winning the bronze with basically no knee whatsoever, that was a pretty fairy tale ending. So how do you top that?
I think honestly, if I make it to the Olympics, that'll be already a success.
Just getting there.
No one else. I don't believe any female woman has raced in the Olympics past 34. And I think that was me. It was either me or Michaela Dorfmeister. There's no woman has pushed it that far. I think for a number of reasons, not that women can't do it, but because, at a certain age, I think there's a certain expectation that we should retire and, have kids and be at home. And I think societal expectations are changing. And I hope that this allows women to continue to follow their dreams no matter what their age, and not give up on themselves, and not let, other people's expectations of them dictate where they want to go in life. And so I think just making it will be a success. I, of course, am a competitor, so I, of course, would like to do something special there. But like I said, the fact that I'm even talking about going to the Olympics right now is something I never thought I would ever do. So I'm already winning.
What were those first few days and weeks and months like in retirement?
It was hard. I had planned to take some time off, and then about 3 days after I retired, I called my team and I was like, so when can you put me back to work? I can't do this. I need a challenge. I'm someone that I always need to push myself. I always need to find something that's activating my mind and my body, and being able to, focus on something intensely. That's something that I need.
And goals.
Yes, I need goals. And that's something that's hard in business. You work hard to make progress. But in business, you don't always know if you're making progress. In skiing, it's really simple. You're either faster or you're slower. Your time tells you exactly, did the work that I put in pay off or did it not pay off? And in life, it's not that simple. And I like the simplicity of knowing whether I'm succeeding or not succeeding. That's something that I didn't really realize until I retired. And I was searching for that. And I think that's why I like the gym so much, because you work hard and you see the results.
It's measurable.
Yeah, I like being able to measure things. And there's very few things in life that are so clearly defined.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. Was there a grieving process, sort of,
Yeah.
that you went through? The whole stages of...
My analogy is that when I retired, skiing was always my son, and everything in my life revolved around it. All the planets, they're all going in the same direction. What time I woke up, what I ate, when I went to bed, how much business I did versus how much training I did. It was all dictated around what's best for my skiing career. And then I woke up one day and my son is gone. And I have all these skill sets. I have all these things around me. I have amazing people and opportunities. But without the center, where does everything go? Where does everything fit in? And how do I manage my time? And what's my goal now? It was hard to kind of put all the pieces back together. And
it was just a huge void.
Yeah, it was just different. And I knew it was going to be different. I knew it was going to be hard. But it's one thing to talk about it, and it's another thing to actually experience it. And I did get a lot of advice from a lot of people, but I got so many different answers that almost none of them were applicable, so it was not helpful.
You always talk about how confident you are as a skier, but like you just said, like off the slopes, you weren't always that confident about certain things, social interactions and all sorts of stuff. Because now that's what you were doing in retirement.
I think I've always been good on the business side, but on my personal side, just believing in myself when I'm not ski racing, I think that was something that it was always a challenge for me. But I think once I recognized that, I was able to learn and grow. And, by the time I retired, I think I was in a much better place than I was when I was experiencing and low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I've definitely learned a lot about myself. I think retirement was it was amazing for me because I learned who I was without skiing. And now I think that plays into my different perspective, because I don't need to ski. I am Lindsey. I am not a skier. I'm a person that loves to ski. And that's a really big distinction for me and in my mind, in my heart. So I'm proud of how far I've come and, grown as a person, and I still learn and grow every day, and that's something that I always strive to do. But, I'm still not perfect. I still have work to do. No one's perfect, and just have to keep that all in perspective. I think perspective is really important.
There were a fair amount of criticisms about you coming back, but it sounds like To me anyway, it sounded like it was more coming from Europe than it was from here.
Oh yeah, it was
Why-
almost 100% Europe.
Why is that?
I can't give you an answer to that because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised by the negative press that was coming from Europe, especially because it was coming from former racers. Some of them haven't raced in 50 years, so, you have to take that with a grain of salt, but...
That's true. Some haven't raced in 50 years.
Yeah.
Well,
But, it still doesn't take away the fact that they have a microphone and they're talking and it's amplified because it's interesting and negative and people love negative headlines. So, and I was always asked about it. It's not like it's a comment on Instagram. I'm asked about it every single day. I knew that people were going to question whether I should be racing with a knee replacement because it's never been done. But what I didn't expect was people to criticize me as a person and why I'm doing it and that I can't handle life outside of ski racing. I don't think you can make that comment without knowing who I am. And none of those people know who I am, and none of them even asked me why I'm doing it. So I try not to let that affect me. I really try, but I think the last few weeks have just been hard to block out the noise because it's not a comment on Instagram. It is someone that I respect and attacking me as a person. And also, I will say, there's another racer that came back, Marcel Hirscher, who retired at the same time as I did. He's a little bit younger than me, and he didn't get a tenth of the criticism that I got. And again, the criticism wasn't really about my knee, it was about me as a person, and he didn't get that. And I thought that was a completely unfair what I was getting, the way I was treated comparatively to him. And he acknowledges that. I mean, everyone acknowledges that, and that's the crazy part, is that people see that, but it doesn't change. People still keep going with it.
I mean, you write in your book about how it was that way sometimes with your injuries, that there were people who, thought it was for just drama and everything else, but they didn't do that for the men. It was for you, it was really, for the men, they would just talk about their injuries for what they were injuries, and for you, it was about drama and about a distraction, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely a double standard, at least in the skiing world. And it's always been like that with me, and I don't know, again, I don't really have an answer as to why that continues to be the storyline, because I'm telling you what I'm experiencing. I've been injured, I come back. I'm not dramatizing it, I'm just telling you what I'm going through and what I'm doing, and I've never been someone that seeks out attention. I am a professional. There's cameras around me all the time, and I do my best to, be a good example and to show kids that they can do what they set their mind to, and show people that injuries don't define you. But there's always, no matter what I do, there's always someone saying something negative. And that's life. That's also sports, and I get that. But at some point, it becomes a lot. It's really not an easy thing to handle. And again, it's part of the job. And I'm lucky to be in this position, so I'm not saying that it's something that, I resent, but it's hard to always have your self-confidence when people constantly tear you down.
And yet, you sort of found a way to use those negative comments as fuel. Sounds
you gotta use them for something. It's like, I think whatever you can use to motivate you is good. I wish people didn't say the things they said about me, but at the same time, when I'm standing in the starting gate, I think of that. Yeah. And that fuels me. It drives me, not in a way that I need to prove something to somebody, but it does help me get in the right mental state to be able to throw myself down a mountain at 85 miles an hour. It's
gotta be a little angry.
Yeah, I gotta be a little aggressive. It takes a little fire in the belly to have that aggression, and sometimes that helps me.
What does your dad think about you coming back? She laughs.
Well, yeah, I really thought he would have a totally different reaction. Yeah. I thought he would tell me that, this is really dangerous and you shouldn't do this. But he was like, yeah, I kind of expected that this is on trend for you. So I'm not surprised. And I think it's awesome. Like, he was very supportive and very much not what I had anticipated. So if I have my dad's approval, then I know that I'm doing okay.
What do you think your mom would have thought?
I think she'd have been really proud of me. I think my mom is someone that, she always has persevered, and she had so many challenges in her life, mainly physical, because of her stroke, and then she had ALS, and she always had such a positive attitude. And I try to embody that in my life. I take that perspective and that outlook, and I put that into my life, and I think she would be proud of me. I know she would be.
In retirement, I guess it was a blessing because you weren't flying all over the world racing. You could really help take care of her in that last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to even race at all if if she had been going through that when I was racing. But it was hard, I think ALS is one of the most destructive illnesses or diseases that I know of, not just for the person experiencing it, but also for the families. And I was very naive about ALS in general. I did the Ice Bucket Challenge, and I really had no idea what it was. And it's incredibly painful and devastating, and it was really hard on our whole family. And we all did the best we could and take turns and take care of her, some more than others. But it was hard. And I'm just so happy that she's not in pain anymore, because I don't wish that on anyone.
And for you, it must have been, because you're used to being fixed, right? And you just can't
Well, that's
fix
the thing.
ALS.
My mom's had, her stroke. There's nothing you can do. And with ALS, I went to the best doctors in the world, and there's nothing that I could do. There was no. It's not like cancer where you have hope and you can fight. There's nothing she could do, and that was hard for her mentally. I think that was the hardest part. She thought that she could beat the odds, and she could be the one that would live 20 more years, and she lasted one.
What do you think you got from her, you think?
I got her positivity.
Yeah.
When she had ALS, she would always say, "Today is another great day." And every single day she said that. And I say it to myself all the time too. And, I got a lot of her, when she passed, I got a lot of her journals and her notebooks and things. And I read, what she wrote, and it helps me when I have bad days. And, I always try to embody that attitude that she had. Nothing would ever slow her down. No matter how many things came at her in her life, she always had a smile, and she always had this just positive attitude. So life could be a lot worse. I am so lucky to be where I am. I take no days for granted. Every opportunity I take, and this is an opportunity that I would be crazy not to take. I know that's how I think about it. I'm lucky. I'm so lucky to be in this position.
To get a second chance, in a way?
To do something that I love to do. My mom would have given anything to play tennis, to play squash, to ride a bike, and she couldn't. And I have that opportunity, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to make something positive out of it, because I can. Something
I've read in your book, which I just thought was very sweet, is you said your mom would read a piece of scripture in the Bible, and then she'd write your race results next to that scripture. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she always did that.
That's amazing.
I have her Bible, and she has a couple of other kind of like scripture type books, and when I was going through reading them, I found the results and the days of my races.
You didn't know she was doing that?
I didn't know that she did that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How sweet.
It was very emotional. Yeah, it was special.
You've been so open about talking about depression. How that must have been a tough period.
Yeah, I mean it's still hard. I spontaneously combust, still more than I would like. But it's hard. You realize that you're the one carrying the torch for your family. There's no one to call. Like my dad and my siblings are there, but at the same time, there's things that you want to call your mother about, and I can't, and that's hard. And I haven't, I still got her number in my phone. I still message her.
Yeah. You just call her and talk to her?
I send her a text message.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so sweet. I'm so sorry I had to go through that. That's awful. So on a happier thing, so how do you qualify for people who don't get it? Like, how do you qualify for the Olympics?
It's based on your results. So yes, my results this year were good and they'll definitely be taken into consideration, but really it comes down to next season, December until middle of January, which will probably be, 8 to 10 races, and those will dictate if I make the Olympics or not. But it's kind of an accumulative point system, so I have a lot of chances, and thankfully it's not like track and field where you have one shot and that's it.
Exactly.
I don't know if I could do that.
What mark do you think you've left on alpine skiing? Do you think about that much, or?
I don't really think about that much. I mean, I think...
Not in terms of legacy, but like just how did you change the sport, you think?
I mean, I just hope I change people's perspective on what's possible in a lot of areas, from how you... Like, I wore makeup. No one else used to wear makeup. I was made fun of for wearing it. Now everyone wears makeup. Small things like that, but it's thinking about things in a different way. Skiing has always been a certain way, and it's very straight and narrow. And there's just so much more to life. There's so much more self-expression. There's so many more possibilities, and I just want people to think bigger, and believe in themselves more and push the envelope more, And I think I've made an impact. I don't know how big, but I think it's changed people's perspective, and I hope people push themselves to achieve more.
Is that sort of what the foundation is a lot about, especially for younger girls?
My foundation is really about following your dreams and teaching kids about grit and how to overcome adversities. And we have a curriculum and we have a scholarship program for underserved girls, but our curriculum is really based in teaching kids, how to reframe things. Someone says something negative to you, and how do you reframe that into something positive? It's kind of simple things, but building their self-confidence so that they can go out in the world and they can pursue their dreams in a confident way. And I was lucky enough that I had parents that supported me and allowed me to dream in that way. And I want to give those kids as much as I can to inspire them to be the best that they can be.
You said that you were a work in progress. You still feel like you are?
Still a work in progress.
Yeah?
I will be until the day I die. Yeah, I mean, I always want to get better. Not just in skiing, but in my life. I want to grow. I want to adventure. I want to travel the world. I want to learn. I want to experience different cultures. I just want to be better. I'm always a work in progress. No one's ever perfect. No one ever knows everything. There's a lot in life that I would like to learn. So I'm just going to keep trying my best every day.
Do you see yourself as a businesswoman now, largely?
Yeah, I mean, I'm, I am, that was my job until I went back to ski racing. Yeah.
Do you enjoy it?
I do. I mean, it's a different challenge in skiing. There's not as much at stake. You're not in in harm's way physically.
Yeah.
But it is a challenge, and I enjoy it. And I'm on the board of companies and other foundations, and I'm on the executive board for the Salt Lake City Olympics for 2034. Like I'm doing a lot of those things, and a lot of them are very rewarding. But yeah, I'm a businesswoman. I've got a lot of things going on.
You do have your fingers in a lot of things.
Yes, I do, which is good. I just got to challenge myself, keep pushing myself in different ways.
Keep one-upping yourself.
I mean, it's
That's
hard to do, but I try.
It's hard to do. All right, thank you.
Thank you.